I learned the hard way early in my career that client service and account management is almost the entire ballgame. I used to think that if I just did a good job, worked hard, created good deliverables, that the work would speak for itself. But that is not true. And that is because you're dealing with people who have tried to solve the problem that you were being hired to solve and failed because the problem is really hard. And so they're nervous and anxious. And a part of how they are being measured professionally in their role is a function of the project that they're hiring you to do. Your success or failure is going to reflect on them. And as a result, the client service and account management aspects of your job are at least as important and potentially more so than the work itself. And a lot of that is really just about anxiety reduction, helping these folks feel like the project is going well. You might feel like the project is going well, but if they don't feel the same way, that is all that really matters. As a result, I think it is imperative if you manage a firm or if you are a member of a firm to become a student of account management and client service. In this video, we're going to walk through 19 ways that you can make that happen, either for yourself or for your team. Number one, realize that account management and client service is a marketing investment. Your client delivery is going to be ultimately the most effective lead gen channel that you have. It will lead to expanded engagements, more client work. It will also lead to referrals, but only if you do it well, which means obviously delivery matters a ton, but the way in which you engage in client service and account management also matters a ton. And I would think of it almost like engagement marketing, and it should have the same care and attention and deliberateness to it that the rest of your marketing activities have. You should treat current clients at least as well as you treat prospective clients. Point number two, you are in the hospitality business. So I think that it is helpful as a metaphor to think about the work that you do as if you worked in a Michelin restaurant, and every single night they have to put on a show. And the only way that you can get a Michelin star is if you show up with consistency every single night. And part of that obviously is the food, your delivery, but part of that is also the experience, right? How you are greeted, how you are sat at the table, the way the menus look, the way the team members interact with you. All of those things add up to a delightful experience or a less than delightful experience. And the best restaurants in the world become that way because they're able to deliver that every single time over and over again over a very sustained period of time. So think about your business the same way. Think about your client experience the same way. How would it look for us if we were to operate the way that a Michelin star restaurant operated? Obviously, there are differences in the type of work that you do and all of that kind of thing. But as a metaphor, I think it is a very useful framing. Number three, again, client experience and quality work are not the same thing. And so it's important to delineate between the two. It does not mean that quality work doesn't matter. Obviously, they're ultimately hiring you to accomplish an outcome of some type, but the way in which you deliver it matters just as much. And so you need to think about the ways in which you are evaluated. And quality of work is one of those dimensions. But how responsive you are, how well you manage expectations, how you handle things when things go wrong. All of these things are ways in which you are being evaluated during that first engagement and will ultimately determine whether that first engagement turns into more work or turns into referrals. Number four, onboarding sets the tone. So a delightful onboarding experience will have a disproportionate effect on how you are perceived through the rest of that engagement. In fact, I would argue that the first 6 months of the engagement are ultimately downstream of how you onboard. And so you can do that, use that to your advantage, or you can use that to your detriment. It's entirely up to you. So I encourage you to script the first 30 days at a minimum of an engagement and be very disciplined about how you do that. Number five, you lose clients ultimately for 4 reasons. Either you are sloppy again with onboarding, or you miss deadlines, you miss commitments that you made, or you are poor at communication. Maybe you hit the deadlines, but you didn't communicate it well, or the scope needed to change and you didn't communicate that well, or you needed to transition a team member and you didn't communicate that well. And then finally, bad quality of deliverable. And I think everybody pays attention to that last one, bad quality, but the other 3 are just as important. It's important to note, though, that it's rare that you will lose a client for one singular event. Rather, it is how you responded to that event, which is in itself an event, or it is kind of the compounding of a variety of small nits that just sort of add up and erode your credibility over time. Number 6, talk like a normal person. So do not use jargon. Do not assume that your client knows the jargon. Figure out ways to translate the jargon into human language. Clients will not ask you what something means. They're just going to feel confused. Sometimes they will feel resentful. Ultimately, they will feel like maybe you are trying to speak over them or that maybe you aren't trying to make them feel stupid, but that's ultimately how they feel. And they will probably like you less than before, even if that is subconscious. So learn to speak like a normal person. Number 7, give advice that is against your interests. Clients are not hiring you to be a yes person, right? They probably have enough of those people internally. They are hiring you to tell them the truth, even when it hurts. And one way to signal that, perhaps the best way to signal that, is to tell them the truth, even if it hurts you. Nothing will build credibility faster than you giving advice to a client that they know has a direct cost for you. Turning down a piece of business because you're not a right fit. Telling them something that they want to hire you to do something, but you telling them that you don't think that that's wise current state, even if that means that there's some revenue that you're taking off the table. Nothing will enhance your trust and credibility faster than being able to tell the truth, even when it hurts you. Number 8, learn to ask open-ended questions. Clients like to talk if you let them. Too many firms spend the bulk of their time talking at clients rather than listening to clients. And so you can learn a ton from them, both about what their goals are, what the nature, what success will look like with the project, what potential other projects are available, if you just learn to ask open-ended questions and then sit back and listen to their responses. Number 9, be humble. Yes, they hired you for a reason, but just like you are a domain expert in your domain, which is why they hired you, they are also experts in their domain and you are not. And so a big part of your job is to go in with beginner's mind, assume that you are the dumbest person in the room, ask a lot of questions, be willing to ask dumb questions, and that will enhance your credibility rather than hurt it. I think I talk about this in other videos, but I think learning to become a student of what good questions look like is in itself a way to reinforce your credibility without you having to talk about yourself. You demonstrate competence through the kinds of questions that you ask. And so learning to become a student of that is great, but it also signals that you trust them, that you respect them, that you are treating them as a peer and somebody worth admiring. Number 10, be organized at all times. So have an agenda before meetings, communicate that agenda ideally up front. Make sure that you get buy-in systematically. You make sure that you listen to each individual stakeholder and understand their potential concerns or objections and address them. Make sure that you take notes during meetings. Make sure that you send recaps and follow-ups at the end. Show that you are on top of it. Again, your brand is ultimately the aggregate of every interaction that they have with you. And so every single time you show up to a meeting unprepared, you are hurting your brand a little bit. And so you want to always be the most organized person in the room. Number 11, small projects matter. Do not treat small clients as if they are small clients. There is a temptation to put clients into tiers, which is understandable. And there is a certain sense in which if you have a client that represents 60% of your revenue, they are going to get more attention. That's okay. But you don't want the smaller clients to know that, and you don't want the smaller clients to feel that. And so it is very common for a tiny engagement to turn into a larger engagement over time. In fact, we advocate for that with a lot of our clients, is identifying what we call wedge engagements, things that get you in the door early, where it's easy to buy and allow you to kind of demonstrate delivery excellence and earn the right to more business. Smaller clients also can be fantastic referral partners. It's not uncommon to have a client that in itself represents relatively a drip in the bucket in terms of your revenues, but then they become a secondary rainmaker on your behalf, introducing you to many clients because you did such a good job for them. So treat small clients like everybody else. Number 12, clients refer you because it makes them look smart. And so understanding the reasons why they refer you and making sure that that happens is really important. People are lending their political capital or their social capital every single time they make a referral. And so you want to honor that, and you want to make sure that the risk that they take is worthwhile. One way to do that is through authority marketing, actually. So being able to share your best thinking with consistency gives the referee something that they can point to when making the referral to let folks know, hey, this person's worth following or worth having a conversation with. Here are 12 examples of, really interesting things that they shared. Secondly, having a really tightly structured and again, scripted intro call can be really helpful, where you ask great questions and you add value during that conversation. Will make you look good, but then by extension, make the person referring you look good. So realize why they're referring you and design those initial interactions with the third party that if word ever gets back to the person who referred you, they feel really good about making that referral and are more inclined to do it again in the future. Number 13, proactively and systematically work to deepen relationships. And there are tons of ways that you can do this. Obviously, delivering on the active engagement first matters. If you identify opportunities to earn more work, but you are in the midst of delivery on the first project and you don't have any kind of wins, quote unquote, yet, make a note of it potentially, but potentially hold off. We try to time requests for things like referral, things like leaving a review, certainly pitches for new business. Try to time those around moments, if you can, where the client satisfaction is highest. But make sure that you deliver in the active engagement before you start to pitch new work. Then get to know them as people. Try to cultivate actual relationships. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be their best friend. It doesn't mean that you have to have a social relationship with them, but understand what makes them tick. Work to build rapport with them, not just during the sales process, but throughout that relationship. Look for ways to add value through introductions yourself. So a great way to get referred is to be a referrer to others. And so constantly be listening for needs that they have. And those could be personal needs or professional needs. So, hey, they're looking for a personal trainer and you happen to know somebody. You can make that referral. It doesn't always have to be business related, but look for ways to add value through introductions. Send gifts on special occasions. So, you can obviously wade into funky territory here, but a small, thoughtful gift to acknowledge their 10-year anniversary at the firm, or a funding milestone, or landing some huge client, or even a birthday. All of those things can be ways to show them that you see them. Ask for input where they are experts. So another way to build rapport is by being maybe slightly vulnerable and saying, hey, I know that you're an expert in this area. Again, it could be personal or professional. And say, hey, I'm looking for a little bit of advice here. Would you be willing to give me 15 minutes of your time? That can be a fantastic way to make a trust deposit. And then drop teasers of other things that you do. One of the things that we teach folks where they have a wedge engagement strategy is to deliberately look for ways during client interactions to kind of sprinkle in just little teasers of like, oh, that's a really great question. For some of our clients where we do this other type of work, it looks like XYZ. And now it's seated in the back of their mind of like, oh yeah, these folks do other things. You don't have to make a hard push, but just kind of making them aware of the other types of things that you do can be really valuable. Number 14, if you messed up, own it. People make mistakes. People understand that people make mistakes. You're being hired, again, to solve really complicated, really hard work. They also understand the nature of client service. You have multiple clients that you're working on. Sometimes you're going to drop a ball. What matters most is, obviously, you don't want to drop a ball if you can avoid it, but if you do, how do you handle it? So apologize proactively, commit to making things right. Going above and beyond when you mess up actually can be a way to earn more trust rather than less. And it's uncomfortable. It's not fun necessarily. But if you handle it with tact and you handle it by being a little bit more proactive even than you normally would be, you actually can walk away from that mistake better for it. Number 15, controlled churn can be strategic, but you want to handle it well. So as your organization evolves, some clients might no longer fit your objectives. And so you might have a need to progressively move upstream, or you might have a need to churn certain types of clients that no longer reflect the direction that your organization is going down. But that doesn't mean that you should do that poorly. For one thing, former clients are still sources of new business for you if you handle it well. But if you leave them in a lurch, they are not going to do that. And so that can be a form of bridge burning that is not as conscious, but is no less damaging. So be very tactful with your timing in terms of how you do that. Give them plenty of lead time and communicate kind of the direction you're going down. Ideally, have partners that you can refer them to. Like if you're moving up to larger types of engagements and they're no longer a fit, have a firm that works smaller that you can send them to, a firm that you trust. But again, do not leave them in a lurch if that is a direction that you need to go down. Number 16, you have permission to fire toxic clients. So excelling in client service and account management does not mean that you put up with bad behavior on the part of a client. It can be hard to replace clients, obviously, but it is harder to replace superstars on your team. And so if a client is truly toxic, so not just difficult to deal with a little bit, but actually damaging the health and well-being of your team, you can use the same steps as before. You don't have to be a jerk about it, but you do not want to wait until your best people leave. So you need to be a little bit proactive around, pruning toxic clients. Number 17, set expectations and boundaries. So it is rare that most people are not toxic clients. Most of the time when we talk about quote unquote bad clients, a lot of that is actually downstream of your behavior. So clients can become bad clients by following your lead. So every time you interact with them, you're teaching them how to interact, unless your work is super, super heavily deadline driven. And there are firms that are like that, attorneys with high fundraising. There are certain high stakes deals. There are organizations that are calendar based. So CPAs, might deal with this sometimes, but if your work is not heavily deadline driven, most clients will honor good protocols and healthy boundaries, but you have to communicate those up front, and then you have to model them. Set good expectations, and good clients will stay good clients and will not learn bad behavior because of your desire to please, right? 18, people have goals too. So don't just ask what success looks like for the company. Think about what success looks like for the key people that are on that account, right? Does this mean a potential promotion for them? Is this a feather in their cap of some way? Are they trying to develop a reputation inside their organization as being somebody who gets things done? You want to understand what motivates them and what success looks like for them in an individual career level. And you want to do your best to make sure that they look good and they look successful as well. Let them see that you care about them and their success personally. And then lastly, client service is a calling, right? I think people are hiring you again to solve their hardest problems that they've tried and failed themselves to solve. And it's a blessing to be able to serve. And so, sometimes when you're in the thick of it, I think that you can, feel down or feel stressed out and begrudge the clients that are paying your bills. It's important to remind yourself as often as is necessary that you got into this business, at least partially, to serve people. You might have got into it to solve hard problems as well, but ours is inherently a service-oriented business. You are the guy or gal behind the guy or gal, and your successes are really their successes. And so there is nobility in that. There is goodness in that. I think there is virtue in that. And so remind yourself as often as you need to that you are in a service business, and it is your job to serve and to show up well. And that means, again, not just delivering good work, but treating clients with respect, being proactive, making sure that their anxieties are not exacerbated by hiring you, but are mitigated by hiring you, making sure that you're accomplishing the business objectives and their objectives as an individual, and just doing so with consistency. So that's it. Hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments, or you can email me, Sean@hiremadison.com. But I think if you take some of these principles to heart, your organization will level up in its ability to serve clients with consistency and with excellence. And I think that you'll find you'll build a better practice as a result.